Welcome back to Open Line. I'm Claire Kopskey, joined tonight by J.C. Bowman, the Executive Director of the Professional Educators of Tennessee. Tonight's topic is there a teacher shortage here in Tennessee? Lots of stats would say yes. J.C. is here to help us just to get into why maybe there is a shortage, what could be done to alleviate this as we head into a school year. We've got just a little over 2 weeks before Metro starts school here in Nashville. If you have something constructive to add to this conversation, you have something you want to ask JC, please call in. The numbers at the bottom of your screen. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to make this be a conversation. JC, again, we're glad you're here with us. Thanks for talking with us.
Yes, ma'am.
We wanted to ask just about pay. That's been a long-term challenge for teachers of getting the pay. We've just finished talking about how they really are a frontline worker. They are the jack of all trades. They are there to be safety. They are there to teach. They are there to do a lot of things. A lot is asked of teachers right now. If pay was increased from the teachers you talk to, is that something that they say would be enough to keep them from leaving, or is it much more loaded than just a number?
It's much more loaded, and what I would say to you, pay is definitely there. I mean, it is definitely, they feel overpaid, and the position is because they...
Underpaid, right?
Underpaid, oh yeah, no, not overpaid, underpaid. And the other side of that is that they want a better working condition. And with that, I'm talking about quality of life. You know, what can you take off of their plate? Is it bus duty, cafeteria duty? Is it, you know, where you look at and remove from them? People come in and assist with grading papers? Still, that doesn't remove the teacher from having to want to look at that child and be able, because they have the skill to look and see maybe there's a learning disability or some pattern there that they're following or something they can catch. Maybe the child's dyslexic. So just handing over grading sounds great, but if you're not grading and looking at that child's handwriting and looking how he works, you may be able to discover that he may be dyslexic. 1 in 20 or 1 in 5 kids has some form of dyslexia. So, you know, and if you can, it is treatable to an extent because you can help them do a better job with their words and help them and giving more time to write and do those things. So it's critical to have the teacher, but what can we take off their plate? And that's what we need to look at.
What are some of those things? I mean, is that something that's being talked about? Is that something that could allow them to be able to go home at night and have a break? Is that kind of the idea?
That would be the great idea, yes.
Okay.
You know, and I don't know how to do it. If it's job sharing, do we go structure out a year longer? Do we do like spend more time? I mean, you know, we talked about that going back to school. Some of these teachers have never quit. We've had summer school going, and we've had other activities. Some have had to supplement their income, particularly here in Metro. I mean, you know, now I just spoke with the HR director at Metro a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that they're offering, and I give Mayor Cooper this, that they've come back and made teachers eligible for FMLA. Now here's the quality of life, back to this. So we go through the life cycle, 83% are women. We get to this whole point. Now they're at the tail end of their career. They've got elder parents. Now, they may have gone through with their maternity leaves and done that part of it, but when they get to this end, they've got an older parent that may need to take off end of life situation. And so with using the FMLA, they could take up to like 6 weeks off and spend it with their parent while they're in transition or passing or any of that. They could spend some time the last of their life. It's a very good move by the city of Nashville to have taken those steps, and I mean, kudos to them. And I think you're going to see other districts and other states or other districts and other cities across the state move to that. I was just in Dixon County. They have a clinic just for teachers right across from the central office, so they can go in and be seen and take care of those parts of it. Back to the younger teachers, child care. Putnam County has adopted child care and put them into place so you can take your child to work with you. So it's not you have to drive across town to somebody reputable to drop them off and then hope you make it back to be at school at 6:45 in the morning or 6:30 and then stay till 4 o'clock. So this is going to be I think the wave of the future, looking at how we can improve the conditions for the teachers.
So your message to districts right now would be find that thing, find what the teachers in your area are longing for that could take something off your plate. You know, like you mentioned, the child care, that's been a huge topic in the last year, especially talking about the U.S. in that aspect. So something like that for people with families, it's a big deal, and having what you were talking about of that extra care time.
It's huge, and I mean, I have a mother. My mother is my dad's passed away, but my mother is getting older. And I would like to go spend some time with her. You know, I went over Saturday and I got to spend 8 hours with her. You know, I drove over. I was there early, and I got to do that. And that's how teachers are. I had a teacher today on the way in called me. She lives in Clarksville. She has to drive to Kentucky 4 hours to go see her dad because he fell.
All things that we deal with, teachers want that extra time to be able to not just have, I mean, they have time off in the summer, but we talked about supplemented income. They're not off in the summer. They're trying to continue to make ends meet.
Well, and professional development. So for us, I mean, and here's for my competitor. They want to know what I do special. I make professional development available 24 hours a day. So that teacher that gets up at 2 in the morning or is still upgrading papers can do their professional development. They can log in, do it. It's already, we record it with some of the best presenters in the world, and we present it and put it online, and they can do it. They have to pass a test, but we've got the ability to do it at their time, at their convenience. So, I mean, it's just simple things.
The topic of respect, you know, it goes kind of hand in hand with some of these possible kind of perks that would have been not traditional in the school space for teachers. The respect, we've seen a lot of heated school board meetings. We've seen some hit national television here in our state in Tennessee. Right. There's been a lot of, like you said, they're the first one to get pointed to as to you're doing something wrong. What could be improved in that area? What could, because that's something everyone could be a part of. Well,
we just had a paper or an article out earlier this week on parent-teacher relationships, and one of the things that the author wrote, and credit is my wife wrote it, but the key point that she said was that to make sure, you know, we spend $700 and something billion a year in education, and yet we spend very little in parent-teacher communication. And so, you know, she really articulated reaching out and touching parents with positive notes to these kids, to their parents, saying, look, Johnny did great today, just want to let you know. I mean, when you call a parent, the first thing they go is already negative, and it's going, okay, what'd he do? I'll deal with it. Click, and the parent may get upset. He's had a rough day at work. He's coming home. He's mad at the world, and now he's going to be mad at his child. And then it may be the third time, and now that's your problem, teacher. You deal with it. So part of it is communicating more with parents in positive formats. We need to have more engagement with parents. And I use the term not parent involvement, but parent engagement. My dad was very involved in my education. He drove by and dropped me off at the school every day. So he was involved, but my dad was not engaged. So engagement is when you sit down with your kid and your child and you say, look, let me see what you're doing at school. Let me work with you. Let's see this lesson. How can I help you? And I think that's just critical. But I know a lot of kids don't even have parents. I mean, we're talking about situations that are so sad. They're living sometimes with great-grandparents. I mean, it's a sad situation that we live in society. But the ones that can, we really need to plug them in.
Absolutely. I'm seeing a comment here on our Facebook thread, which you can engage with us here. We'd love for anyone to call in who has a question, but also we're seeing some questions here. Someone just said, respect first, and then the pay is necessary. People just teachers are looking for that respect, and that's what you've been saying, right? Right. Okay. So that aligns.
And that's exactly right. She's right. And I feel like that they feel, I mean, talk about, I hear politicians all the time come up and go, well, I want to hear from teachers. Hey, let's get the Department of Education to come in here and tell us what teachers think. They did a survey. We know teachers will not tell you what they think on a survey, because if you come back, how do you rate your superintendent? He's terrible. I don't like him. And no, he's the best guy there ever was till the next guy comes along. But that's what they do. They're not going to be honest with the surveys. I have implored, I have begged Governor Lee, sit down with these teachers, talk to them one-on-one. If he doesn't want me there, great. But get the people in the room, listen to him, let him get yelled at. One of the things I saw in Rutherford County, they wanted to limit parent speaking to 1 minute. I don't know if you saw that. But the problem was, you know, how many, you got one parent who wants to come over and talk 5 minutes, okay? Let him say his piece. Let him be done with it. Okay, you're done, and do that. I think we need to hear what they're saying, we can respond. We can say, look, you're a nut. We don't want to deal with you. Or, hey, you're absolutely dead on. Let's take some of these changes and work and adopt them. But you don't have to completely shut their mic off and not give them a voice and an opportunity to speak. Sometimes all people want to do is be heard.
Absolutely.
And so I tell people all the time, in public education, we're self-inflicted. And we can fix that. The self-inflicted part of it we can. But for our teachers, they are really doing, and I say this, I'll say it again, they are doing God's work. They are really doing great efforts out here. And I'm telling you, if you're the whole thing, most of them are not political. And all these people that are trying to politicize them and use children on pawns on either side, they're wrong. Our teachers just want to teach kids.
Right.
And they want to teach them how to learn, not, you know.
Sure. You mentioned Governor Lee. We're talking about the topic of respect with everything that's gone on with the Hillsdale College situation. And I wanted to ask you what you're hearing from teachers. How are they feeling about, is that just the cherry on top? Is that, what are they saying about it? And have they given up on the governor of saying he's not going to help us with respect? Do they still have hope? What is the sentiment?
I have seen probably the most united effort on both sides of everything. I think that it's kind of like the governor. I mean, yesterday he was at an event and then he goes out to a private school event. He just doesn't want to spend time with people in public schools. Him, Bill Lee, the governor. I mean, and not just me, but I think teachers need to see him, not for photo ops, not for quick stop-bys and get my picture made, but to go in and listen to them, go to their faculty meetings, go in and teach school one day. Jeb Bush, one of the things Jeb did, he adopted a child every year. He spent the entire year, we had a mentorship program in Florida, a very active program, where we tried to match up kids that didn't have an adult, a responsible adult in their life. And he would go down and visit. And with that kid, he ended up, in his 8 years as governor, he adopted 8 different children. He spent, and as far as I know, he still keeps up with them. You know, less than a couple miles from here, we have one of the lowest performing schools in the capital, and 2 miles from the capital, and yet the governor, I don't know if he's ever visited that school. I mean, go spend time at that school. Turn around the school in your neighborhood. Work with that. And I'm not calling him out. I'd say that to any politician. You know, go out and visit your school. Spend time. Substitute teach. Bus driver. We haven't even gotten into bus drivers. We got bus driver shortages. We got substitute teacher shortages. It's going to collapse on itself if we don't do something.
And we're going to talk about those some things. We're going to talk about some possible solutions, some ideas of how to make this better when we come back. But again, if you'd like to add to this conversation, ask a question, voice a concern, you can call the number at the bottom of the screen. It's 615-737-PLUS. We hope to hear from you here in the next few minutes. Don't go away. We'll be right back.